There you go.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the DTC Insider podcast. I'm Brian Roisentul, your host, and today I'm going to interview Dario Markovic. He's the CEO of Eric Javis since 2020, company he saved, increasing overall revenue by 400%, not 40, 400% in less than 3 years, 2 years and a half, actually. So that's awesome. And we are going to chat about it in a sec. But before doing that, let me tell you that this episode is brought to you by BSR Digital. By now, I'm sure most of you know that customer acquisition costs are going up. There's lack of tracking, attribution is driving you nuts, and audience sizes are getting smaller after the iOS 14 update. If that wasn't enough, there are other factors such as the recession and supply chain issues, making it harder than ever to grow your e-commerce brand. That's why we need to understand that it's really important to level up the marketing and design a solid strategy, as what used to work doesn't anymore. Here at BSR Digital, we have been helping countless e-commerce brands that wanted to scale their business to the next level through paid ads and email marketing for over a decade. So if you want to learn more about us, please visit us at bsrdigital.com, or you can email us at hello@bsrdigital.com. Now, as promised, I have Dario here with me. Hey, Dario, thanks for being on the show.
All right, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. So I'm very excited about this one because, with all due respect, I want to pick your brain because I think there could be very valuable lessons for everyone listening or watching this. So I would love you to start by telling the audience more about you, your background, and your story.
Sure. Well, I grew up in Switzerland, Europe. I then had time I was living in South America because I met my wife there actually in South Africa, and I moved to, I was living in Chile in South America for a while. So I was living in different continents. I was there, Javis is in New York, so I'm spending a lot of time there as well. So yeah, I started actually back in finance in Switzerland. Really nothing to do what I do now. I was working as a controller in an energy company, very early, dry, straightforward. I was like aiming at perhaps Swiss banking jobs, etc., but never really ended up there. Yeah, and then kind of my wife said, hey, I don't want to go to Switzerland. You had to come to Chile. And I was like, okay, let me go there. And then, kind of we started working together, different businesses. We started to work with brands, actually more in the fashion space. We had an academy. I kind of, was like giving courses to, in fashion design and makeup and so on. Anything related to fashion. And at the same time, we were working with companies, kind of doing events for them, PR, and that's when I kind of entered as well more into digital marketing. I was back in 2014. Yeah, pretty much 9 years now, and yeah, I've been working since then with really e-commerce, digital marketing, PR, and marketing in general, and yeah, it's been great. I love what I do, and yeah, and how I ended up in Aerojet, it's a little bit of a different story, but yeah, that's where it kind of came from, and a little bit background on me.
Okay, if you want to go for it, please go ahead. I mean, how you ended up working for that.
Sure, yeah. That was Aerojet. I was working with while Don in Chile was working with his the partner of Aerojet as a presence in Chile, as a personality, as a say influencer, or as a TV show star. So he hired us to do events and appear in magazines and TVs. And that's we kind of ended up knowing each other, and I met Eric, and since then we kind of stayed friends. We met several times, and when the pandemic started, I really knew nothing about the hat business and Eric Chavit's business and what they do. I just obviously knew what they do, but I didn't know about the business. And And they kind of reached out and said, hey, we're in big trouble. We obviously, the focus of the company the last 35 years was really selling to big retailers, Nordstrom, Neiman's, Bloomingdale's, and there wasn't really a presence to go direct to the consumer. And yeah, there was really not much time left. Obviously, most of the big retailers, they have a consignment model, which means they can return goods at any moment throughout the year if they don't sell them. So that was the case actually. The time when they will start taking the goods, which is March, that's where the pandemic started, and they kind of canceled all that. So and as you probably know, fashion business is really heavy inventory. You have to invest first a lot, and you wait till there's a time to wait for payments coming in, especially as well with the retailers that they net 60, net 90. So yeah, it was something we had to, say, hey, can you help out? And it reacted fast. In month two, we really ended up creating Shopify and going all in, and thanks God, it really resulted well. And since then, it's kind of been a huge uptrend in switch also from wholesale to direct to consumer. However, we ended up saving a lot of wholesale business as well. We're growing both channels now, which is great.
Awesome. So thank you for sharing your story. For everyone listening or watching, I would love you to pay attention to this conversation, because I don't know, you might be in this situation, or you've been in this situation too, or someone that is in this situation. So I think what Dario is going to share next could be really helpful for you. No pressure, Dario, but I think it could be really helpful for you guys listening or watching. So I would love, if you don't mind, to break down the journey. I mean, you arrived in the company. It was 2020. The pandemic started, and they say, "Hey, we don't have much left. What do we do?" What do you remember? What went through your mind back then when you learned about that situation?
Obviously, I was, while I was working with companies, with big ones as well, back in Chile, obviously, your agency owner, is going straight to hate Facebook ads, Google ads. That was like the first thing. We're not talking about email, SMS retention, all that. Not at all. We're just talking go ahead and acquire customers. And that was like my first thing. Hey, you have to go ahead and just go and get those customers. And there was this brand awareness. The brand is around 35 years. So there's a lot of customers that are buying or bought or whatever bought in those Nordstrom stores throughout the last 30 years. So, they would see urgent that would be as well. Hey, I know this brand. I used to buy it. And I can go ahead and buy them now online, which is great. And so that was the first thing. Hey, go to the paid channels, which is, get the traffic to the website. And that was like the first thing we did. And that, that obviously, times change. Back then was totally different. Now, you in the introduction, you mentioned how things totally changed. But then it was still, easier, I would say, Facebook with all the magic they had, Google as well, obviously. So it was much easier to acquire customers at a much lower cost. And we were able to be very aggressive and started to acquire customers at a very, really low cost. And that's the first thing we did. Now, obviously, I would say that's the first thing you have to do today. And you can't go ahead and just say, I will try to do it organically or whatever. I'll try to, not spend much money. Fortunately, it's not even for a brand like Eric J that had that brand recognition. It's possible, if you wouldn't run any advertisement, you would have almost zero sales. It's crazy. It's just the environment we live in. Everyone is bombarded with with ads or with information from all sides, and a lot of people act on that. So so you have to have a good strategy top of the funnel. And but today, and as you know, probably Brian, things totally changed. You have to have a really different approach, anomaly approach, to be able to maintain and to acquire customer at a cost that's still profitable. The return is there. So, but you have, I would say you have to start from paid and then search paid, and obviously work at the other channels as well.
100%. So basically, if I got it right, just to clarify, and please let me know if I got it wrong, the company is a well-established company that has been around for 37, 38 years, right? And they have been mainly or solely doing B2B, right? Not B2C. They didn't have like an e-commerce, nothing, right? Or it was a channel for them that
They had an e-commerce. The e-commerce did what we do today in a day on a yearly basis. They were selling a little bit on Amazon as well, which is really nothing. That was really the D2C channel. But yeah, again, it was really having the website there. More as a presentation, but transactions or traffic wise, again, it was like a day that we do revenue now. They did on a yearly basis, which is crazy.
So I'd love to ask you the following, if you don't mind, because e-commerce, I think there are many ways of looking at an e-commerce. One could be the storefront. You build a Shopify or any other platform, website, you upload the products and you do the campaigns, and boom, you have an e-commerce, right? But on the back end, there are many things going on. So I'm curious about the transformation from B2B to B2C regarding all the internal processes, because you were doing, I guess, big orders for a small amount of companies, compared to doing B2C, which is small orders for a higher volume. So do you need to change things internally, processes, departments, hires?
Oh yeah, it's a very good question. Totally. We were going through the transformation. All the stuff that they're filming for the wholesale customers, they were not really trained, or they had an idea, how do we fulfill the e-commerce orders. Sometimes you get an order from wholesale customers that it's for the next month, so you have time, and you can wait for a DTC order to go out, next month or in a week, and there's a certain, way to pack it. There's a certain way to present it, right? It's not those big boxes that you send to the retailer and they're later going and doing the merchandise, which is fine. But so you have to restructure internally, bring in folks that well, unfortunately, get rid of folks that are not really up to date with what's going on online. So it has been hard, right? There were workers that have been there for the past 20 years. So that's been very hard. So you have to but you have to, make that cut, and you have to restructure the whole dynamic to be able to tailor to that audience, and to fulfill fast, to fulfill, at the level that we price on, which is more the premium level. So that has been a very tough time. That took us, at least 3 to 6 months to take the first step, or to make a approach to the right direction. So it's not something you can do in a month or two, unfortunately not. So it was something that we started to implement month 3, and then obviously for me it was new. I had to learn what's going on internally. So bringing a new ERP system, because you have to have one centralized inventory. So the wholesalers are pulling through an EDI, the orders in. So you have to be sure you're not wholesaling on Shopify. So you have to have the tools inside, so to ERP system, hey, what ERP system is the best? And what EDI partner is the best? How long does the implementation go? And so on and so on. So really the first 6 months to a year was just turning, directions. And at the same time, you have to maintain, the levels to, sell and replace the losses on the wholesale side.
those listening that might be in your position or know somebody that is in the position you were at back then. I mean, the switch from B2B to B2C, right? Or even starting, their D2C brand. What's the main, what could you say that the key areas for that change to be successful were? I mean, it could be fulfillment, it could be this customer success department. What do you think that were the key areas that made these possible?
I think it has to be, obviously you have to kind of see what level you are right now in your business to determine, hey, do I focus first on, on logistics, fulfillment, and do I want to use a 3PL? We're using now a 3PL after 2 years. We decided, hey, we have to have a 3PL. We outgrew the space, and it would just make more sense, right? So and obviously cost wise, and be more efficient, and focus on tasks that would let us grow, right? And not just unfortunately managing logistics. Maybe that's your point. Maybe it's customer service. That's something we in the beginning took decision. I mean, I'm saying here everything is important. You have to choose where. If you can tackle all of them, that's great. And we were kind of, hey, customer service might come a little bit later. We had to concentrate on getting the goods out on time, on getting the customers the goods and the way they expect it. And post sales, obviously we kind of realized, hey, we had to be better there. So we obviously started to use softwares. We started to track satisfaction, policy changes, right? You have to have a policy change. Do I want to offer a 30 day return window? Do I want to offer free shipping? Everyone says today, hey, I want to see free shipping. Can you really financially offer that? In the beginning we didn't, and then we were kind of going step by step. I was like, no, no return, or we have like really short return window, and everything, shipping was paid. And it was like, okay, now we have to take step and above threshold, hey, shipping is free. And then we kind of went from 7 days to 30 or 28 days where we're now. And so on, you have to kind of see, does it make sense? For us, it's hard because even though product is very light, its dimensional weight is high, so shipping costs are huge. It's one of the biggest costs in the company. So I tackled it that way, that I kind of, okay, let's give a step, and then let's see it 6 months or a year. Can we go to the level like Amazon offers, or you might never get there, but you have to consider it, because all of these things, all of these little changes could improve conversion rate. That's what you want, right? You want the customers to forget your product. You want them to feel it and see it, and if you are confident you have a good product, then you might convince the customers to keep the product, and that's what you want. That's you want to improve their conversion rate. And sometimes I understand if you cannot do it immediately. Hey, I cannot offer free shipping, free return, 30-day window. I can't, just financially I can. It's fine. Start with the first step, and you will see. After 6 months, a year, you might, or we might never. But that's how we approach it. We didn't go into let's just change everything. It's just because I wasn't really, sure that will maintain us at a level where we can control everything from month to month. So that's how we approach it.
That's an important lesson. I mean, I guess that sometimes we want to serve the users or the customers the best way possible, and we go above and beyond. And probably sometimes we should keep our heads above water, right? First, and then after a few months or sometimes years, start releasing new features or new benefits for the customers. But it doesn't necessarily need to start that way, right? So moving forward in the journey, When did you see the first spike in sales? They said, "Oh, this is working great."
Right away, actually. Hey, week one, we just saw, hey, it's so, so little money. There's so much, possible. We have to be, we have to go after it. So that's where we kind of realized immediately, there wasn't really much time left. There was like 2 weeks or 4 weeks left to, really saying, hey, you want to close the company or not. So we had to act fast and said, it's like, hey, that's working. Let's push it. Again, I didn't go again to a little bit going back to tackling all. I didn't go say, okay, we have to have a email marketing, all the flows so before we really start. No, just do the paid search part. In our case, was Facebook and Google, and then after a few months we start. Hey, let's use Klaviyo. Let's what is the best SMS? You might say, hey, I'm missing out if I don't do it right away. Fine, it might be the case, but if you can tackle all of it and well, that's fine. But for us, it was more start do pay one first, and then we have to prove we weren't waiting years, but we were waiting 3 to 4 months until we had all the flows. You probably you work in the email marketing side, so that's how we approached it. We tested hey, what SMS partner is the best? Is it SMS bump? Is it postscript? Is it attentive? Um, so that's how we kind of approached it, and it was really working well for us. Every time we introduced a new, retention channel or channel, it produced for us well. And but I think going back, it's important that you start to realize that you will need all of these, especially in 2023. And you will need an overall approach, 360. You can go ahead say, I'm just going to run ads and I'm going to be fine. Unfortunately, that was the case back when I started. I was like amazed how you can go from 0 to 1 million just running Facebook ads. And that's unfortunately not the case anymore. Unfortunately, I'm saying unfortunately, it's just what I used to see, and it's just today it's not the case anymore.
Yeah, I totally agree. And in fact, we discussed that on the show. There's actually a report from 2022 done by the coach at e-commerce fuel, a 7-figure plus e-commerce community. And basically in the report, it's super thorough with numbers. They surveyed 600 plus e-commerce brands, and they partnered up with PostScript and many other tools to provide them with data for the report. There's no BS. It's a very interesting read, and I will put the links in the show notes for everyone interested in reading it. And basically, what it says is that it's really long, but one of the relevant parts for this conversation is that they take the top performing brands in a group and the comparison group, right? The rest of the brands in the comparison group. So the difference between of them is not the ROAS, is not the conversion rate, is the branding element, is a branding factor, is the marketing. That's the main differentiator, right? And that got me thinking that many brands in 2023, as you said, they think that they will get away with the same old things that used to work for them before all this mess. And now things have got harder, and brands needs to go the extra mile and pay attention to many other things, both like for acquisition, for retention, but also on the back end, the customer, the customer success department or customer support, delivering a good product, having a great offer, live up to their promises, right? So there are many things that e-commerce brands weren't doing back then. So I'm curious about what you guys do, because you said that brands, and I agree, need to take a holistic approach. So what are you guys doing for customer acquisition, for example?
I mean, we're running now, obviously the ads on all the channels. It's not perhaps all, but we're on TikTok, we're on Pinterest, we're on Google, we're on Facebook, we're on Meta. right? It's not Facebook anymore. It's Meta companies. We are running, we're using Adro. We're using other programmatic tools. We're doing a lot of SEO. Which we didn't do it at all in the beginning. Which there was no recourse. There was no, there was no staff to do it. There was no, perhaps no budget to hire someone. That's fine. But now it's really important for us. SEO. It's very important. We see, the fruits, coming from the work that we did the past year. Also, you have to put more in, but we see a line going up, and that's from from the perspective, bring the customers to the site. Twitter, Reddit, we're actually on some Reddit ads. You're trying different channels. YouTube, obviously. Well, when I say Google, I mean Google generally. We're not specifically, I guess, tailored perhaps for LinkedIn. We might test it in the future, but I would test all the channels. And we decided to have a mobile app. I received a lot of questions. Hey, why would you have a mobile app? Does it make sense? I was obviously asking me the same. I was like, hey, does it make sense to spend time and resources in a mobile app? And actually we ended up doing a mobile app. We're in Shopify, so we decided, hey, there were 2 or 3 partners that came in, we're kind of considering. And first we decided to go with one, and we saw that the dynamic wasn't, they were slow on responding. And it's like, hey, let's go with TapCard. I know Shopify's kind of recommending TapCard as well, and it was great. It was a great decision. It's you go for app downloads, those channels, and sometimes app downloads are cheaper than conversions. So that's the decisions where you have to start to take. So here. Yeah, that was a strong one here. As you know,
does it happen often?
No, actually not that often, but as you probably saw, camera was shaking.
Yeah, I thought it was you that you hit it accidentally, and it was moving.
That was a good one. That was a strong one. I mean, it happens for someone that doesn't, it's not used to earthquakes. It happens quite frequently, but that was a few times shaking here.
Well, you're taking it just fine.
Oh yeah, I'm used to it. So yeah, that's on the top of them. But then loyalty. The loyalty, you have to have a loyalty program. I think it's a must today. You can decide, hey, no, I want to have a loyalty program. Actually, we obviously after a year we kind of saw, hey, who are the customers and how they behave, and and then we saw, hey, 40% of our revenue comes from 9% of the customers. Well, it's crazy.
40% of the revenue comes from 9% of the customers.
It's actually, they would say you're doing a great job on the remarketing, retargeting, retention side. You're not doing enough on the top of the funnel side. Might be the case, but it's important to have, that information, so we can kind of see, hey, customers that buy from us, they're, we have now 32%, customer return rate. Hey, that's great. So, what's, probably, we might get into another topic. What is it worth to me to acquire customers? What should the customer, acquisition cost? Our AOV is around $300, $320. So, what was it worth? Because we know, we have loyal customers, and they love our products once they have the product. We got into shoes this year. Eric used to do shoes in the 90s, but we say, hey, maybe we could cross-sell them. So it's all the decisions that you start to take, once you have data. Well, right? Unfortunately, you can't just go ahead and say, hey, I'm going to run Facebook ads or Google ads or whatever, TikTok, and then it's fine. Now, coming back to Tap Card, I was like, why would a customer land on a web page, see, because we have like a button down, like a pop-up, download the app, and it was like we suddenly saw customers that they prefer shopping app. They like it. It's not my case. Sometimes, it's not what you think, what you do in your daily life. Everyone is thinking the same way. And you have people, they love to shop on an app. They love to have their, the purchases in an app, their account in an app. And we saw customers, we have a good percentage going through the app. They're buying through the app. New customers, existing customers that bought from our website, they're going to the app and buying through that. They perhaps just like the dynamic. So sometimes you have to test as well. So that's how we, obviously email marketing is huge. I think who doesn't really do email marketing today or effective? Probably you're telling them that with your agency. I mean, it's missing out. If you're not doing email marketing, not doing it correctly, you're just missing out. Huge. So yeah.
I mean, of course, this generic comment, it might not be true for everyone, but I think that I'm almost 100% sure that for every brand that gets traffic, they are actually leaving money on the table if they don't do email marketing. And it's easily proven by installing, even if they want to do it by themselves, installing Klaviyo or any other, platform, and setting up, welcome series, automatic flows, even if they are not on point, just something, and you will be amazed by the result and the money you were leaving on the table. And of course, with doing things right, and the more emails you have in the list, and of course, things will grow. But even if you start recovering 1%, 2%, 3%, 5%, it's more than nothing, right? And people wanted to buy. But it's that, as you said, why are you guys doing things in so many platforms? Because there are many, people's attention is so spread out right now. There are so many bubbles to tap into. Some people like to hang out on Pinterest or on TikTok, Instagram, or you said it, on an app, right? And you don't know where to find them. And if that's not enough, they are probably, depending on the industry, not going to commit the first time they see your ad. So if you're not getting back to them through remarketing ad campaigns, or even in a more intrusive way through email or SMS, they're not going to buy. You can expect them to buy from the get-go, right?
Right. Especially I in the past, I was like, hey, I don't want to send out too many emails. Again, this is very case. It might be a case for you. You don't want to send out every day an email. And I was like, hey, I don't want to send out more than one email a week, 2 emails a week. And then you realize, hey, the customers are really, obviously you have customers subscribing. That's very natural. You have subscribers, you have people that unsubscribe, and people that bounce or whatever. But if you don't engage with them, if you don't remind them that you're there, it's not about bothering them. It's just being on top of their mind. Hey, I'm here. We have this offer. We have this going on. We have this. And if you say, hey, I want to send an email a month or whatever you want to do, it's going to be difficult. It's not going to work. You have to go after the customers on all the channels. We realized, if you want to be more efficient, Pinterest, top of the funnel, wasn't really generating sales or doing great, but remarketing is great. We now run 80% of the budget that we have for Pinterest is remarketing. It's great. It's delivering, because customers, they probably search something else on Pinterest. They see us in a retargeting ad, and they're getting reminded, and they purchase. So it's great. I mean, if you use tools like Northbeam or Triple-Whale, or those tools, you can see, hey, what the customer does. And sometimes it's crazy. They're growing, they're seeing your ad on Google or seeing on Facebook or Pinterest. They're jumping back and forth and clicking and so on. And especially if you're in a space where your product's not $20 or $30, and if it's fine, you still have to do it. But if it's a bit more expensive, it's not. You can't expect the customer to go, oh yeah, it's a nice hat, $300. Yeah, it's nothing. Give me that hat. I would wish that's the case. It's not the case. Not everyone is just going to go ahead and purchase your product. So that's why you have to be in those channels. You have to at least do remarketing if you don't have much of budget. But believe me, customers is the journey is crazy today. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, attribution systems or tools are a must, at least for us, for clients in multiple channels. I mean, who isn't in multiple channels now? If they control the communication, is a different thing, but people are talking about them for sure in multiple channels. But something I wanted to ask you was that, I mean, how some brands, as we said in the beginning of the conversation, it's tougher than before or harder than before to be profitable on the first purchase, or to be as profitable as before in the first purchase. Costs are going up for brands overall, not only the advertising costs, and then the advertising platforms are inaccurate or more inaccurate than before. So what do you think brands should do? Do you think brands should still be, allocating a budget for the customer acquisition cost associated to the ROAS, or do you think it should be a different thing?
yeah, it's a very good question. I was obviously running ads in the past. I was focused a lot on ROAS. I guess a lot of guys that watching, I was like, hey, my ROAS is not there, and I'm not going to run it or whatever. I had to get away from that. I mean, that's what I think. I'm more on the media efficiency ratio. Getting all the spend that we have. Realistically, hey, what's the revenue? What's obviously we're trying to use, we're using Google Analytics, and now we're just finishing implementing GA4 with all the tracking tools and so on. You want to be sure, hey, what do I spend as a whole in marketing, and what I get out. If you go from channel to channel, sometimes look at just ROAS on one channel and it's not performing, hey, maybe one channel is feeding the other channel. We by fact saw that if we don't run in a certain way Google Facebook ads, Google performs less as well. That's the case for us. I might need to, but we did it a lot with some tests. We decreased spending in Facebook by a lot, and then we saw just Google drop it. And overall on the back end, we saw revenue's down. So one channel might be more top of the funnel, even though if it's not performing well, it's generating that audience that's getting converted on another channel. So we can't really just take ROAS as the customer acquisition cost. Obviously, you have to start to see the lifetime value. Hey, what I'm willing to spend to acquire customers, or a customer. But at the same time, we talk about what is my return rate, customer return rate. Can I cross sell them? Can I upsell them? When do they come back and buy again? I think Shopify a few months ago implemented as well. I mean, we were using tools before that, but the cohort analysis. So you have to see, hey, how long does it take for customers to come back and buy from you? You have to take that into consideration. But if you just look at the ROAS, it's fine if you want to do if you're in a budget. But today, with all the tracking, issues everyone's is running into. From Google to Facebook, everyone's saying it's just Facebook. It's not. It's Google really. Google is lacking a lot lately. So you have to be smarter. You have to spend more time. You have to work harder. You have to use more tools to spend more money. You have to hire perhaps more people. You have to work with agencies. If you probably cannot do everything in the house, but that's how that's how you have to approach it. The old ways again are over.
Yeah, I think you said it better than I could say it. So thank you for your time. Thank you for delivering great value today. Before we go, I wanted to ask you one thing. You know, whenever I invite someone on the show, I'm curious about what they read, if they read, right? So I wanted to ask you about, I don't know, any favorite books that you might have to recommend to the audience. We, for everyone listening or watching, we put together a list of books in 2022, and we are doing the same this year. So, of course, I will add the one that you mentioned or the ones you mentioned to the list.
Sure. Well, I do have a lot of favorites, but I will mention a few. One that I like. One is Cashvertising from I think Eric Whitman. I like that one. 100 Million Offers, Alex Hormozi. I think it's a classic one. Breakthrough Advertising. I think that's a very, very classic one. Eugene Schwartz. That's a few ones that I actually read it more than once. But yeah, that's some of my favorites because I know I read them more than once. Yeah, I don't want to make your list huge. Those three, you can take those three.
Awesome. No, I love them. I read two of those three, so I love them. And everything will be in the show notes at the dtcpodcast.com. So make sure to go there, click on the episode, and then you will find the show notes if you are not already there, of course. So if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other, make sure to go there to get the show notes. So Dario, I wanted to thank you for being here on the show. I really enjoyed the conversation. And I wanted to ask you, where can people go to learn more about you and your company, or Eric Javis?
Well, they can find me on LinkedIn, and ericjavis.com, ericjavis.com. You can see more about what we sell. We're expanding our we're not just doing hats, bags, and shoes. We're looking into other categories. So if you like some products, obviously maybe I can tell Brian if you can get some, if you like, or you want to give a gift to your wife or your husband, we can get you some promo codes and so on. So you can go to Brian's website and maybe get some promo codes, and if you like some products.
So we can add a promo code in the show notes, of course. So Dario, again, thank you for being here. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you very much, Brian. Thank you for having me. Thank you.